What's going on, everybody? This is James Grandmaster Facts Voice, and this is another episode of Facts Project. Today, two special guests today. We are talking VillainUS, the new cyberpunk graphic novel, with our two guests, authors and creators of their own rights, TJ Sterling and Newton Lilavois. Thank you, sir. Both of you for being.
What's up, guys? What's up? Thanks for having me.
That's right. Call it.
The crowd goes wild.
Yo, what's up? What's up?
Now,
What up, y'all?
now to get into it for both of you, when we talk about veterans in the indie game, a lot of times we get to talk about like basically a lot of the newer aspects and people just jumping in on the first run and trying to depict their first stories for the first time. You guys, though, both of you have been in this game for a hot minute. Now, if you could discuss your backgrounds real quick, as far as like your start in comics and the titles that you've brought to everybody's hands. I'll start with you, Newton.
Yeah, so my name is Newton Lilavois. I'm the comic book writer and creator of Crescent City Monsters. It's a supernatural horror comic book series. There you go. Yep. It's an award-winning series. My partner in crime is my artist, Giancarlo Bernal. That dude is amazing. He's just like killer. If you guys haven't seen the artwork in the comic book, you should definitely check it out. In fact, Gian was nominated for a Ringo Award as best cover artist last year. So yeah, we got gypped. He should have won that, but you know, whatever. So yeah, and currently I'm working on another project called Keishan Demon Eater. I'm really excited about that. The feedback from social media and just people in general has been amazing. And so that's what I'm currently working on outside of VillainUS.
Oh, TJ.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy TJ Sterling, president and lead artist of Ray Comics. I write, I draw, I do a whole bunch of stuff. You know what I'm saying? The hats that I wear reaches the ceiling. So started my career working as an intern in the bullpen for Marvel way back in the day, about 10 years ago now. And that's kind of where I got the basis of my comic book knowledge. And, really not seeing enough diversity in comics, I wanted to create my own comic book company. So shortly after that, I created Ray Comics. And with Ray Comics, the first book that we ever debuted was a Super Sentai Tokukatsu style story called Okemus, where it's sci-fi, martial arts, time travel, everything that you loved about the 90s as a kid brought into one book. Currently, we've got about 6 issues in the series, issue 0 all the way up to number 5. We've got single issues and collected editions. Last year, we dropped our second book, and that's Joystick Angels. It's a space opera series centered on 5 young Black space pilots trying to save the universe from the evil alien empire. You like Guardians of the Galaxy or Star Wars, you're going to love this book. So we've got a lot of great variety, and now we're kind of bringing it full circle with that last little gem in the sci-fi crown and that cyberpunk here with VillainUS, and we're super excited about it.
Well, see, I like to think of it as a best of both worlds. For one, you have Newton, who has taken absolute deep dives in horror. And for you, have been basically molding yourself around sci-fi for so much. The combination of the two, what is the dynamic that is brought to this book?
So I would say that's a good point, because it really, with that combination, it's like a gritty sci-fi, because because I'm into horror, a lot of the stories I write are really gritty, and they're not really like happy-go-lucky. The heroes face a lot of adversity, and I make it hard on my main characters. So I like to have my characters and my world just be like really gritty, and so mix that with what you have in sci-fi, what TJ's done in sci-fi. You have this like gritty sci-fi story, which is a perfect blend for cyberpunk meets Afropunk, just absolutely perfect.
Now I don't want to get too deep. Now, the lead character, Shatter, is of course the anti-hero in this book. Okay, maybe I am getting a little bit deep, but the depiction of where this storyline is going, it's of course a graphic novel, so it's not necessarily a volume trade 22 page comic book that we're used to seeing from the both of you. It's what, 40-50 pages?
Yeah, 80 plus right now.
Oh, see,
Yeah,
that's a
I mean,
whole mess of reading right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think over the years, people have always had the same request of me and Newton, like, we want more. And we figured if, the first time we collaborate together as creators and as business owners and as Black, entrepreneurs, we're going to give you guys as much as we can on the first offering. So you come to the dinner table and literally you get the entire spread, you know what I'm saying? Like straight out the gate, no little morsels, no appetizers, you get the full on 3-course meal.
This is
Yep.
true.
And the thing too is, to be honest, it felt like we had no choice. As we were writing the story, we got up to chapter 1, issue 1, and we were like, yo, we can't stop here. So we got, up to chapter 2, issue 2, and we're like, yo, we can't stop here either. So it was like, all right, let's do another 20 pages. And by the time we hit the 20 pages, we were like, all right, this is good enough just to give them that little taste. So even after the 80 plus pages, you guys are still gonna be wanting more. It's just gonna be like the tip of the iceberg, you know what I mean? This like the prologue,
Yep. I mean, as I'm seeing it right now, I think you guys are pretty much halfway there to your goal. So I'm just going to wish you guys congratulations early in the game, because it's pretty much going to mean its completion and be in everybody's hands by when? This summer?
Yeah. Summertime. Newton, what do you think? Like July, August, the absolute latest?
Yeah, that's what we have scheduled right now. July, for June for most of the tiers, and then July for some of the more like collectible tiers, where supplies and materials may take some time to get to us. So it's a little bit, it's like a month later, just to make sure that we're not late on our project.
Got you. Now to get into the storyline, the lead character, Shatter, of course, being an anti-hero, and basically has been listed as completely fed up with the process of living in the city in which he lives, and basically has taken it upon himself to by any means break down the secretive government ops that are basically just holding everybody into some type of repression. So not only is he going after government officials, he's going after notorious street games who are basically a part of the whole deal. As I'm looking at it, he just seems like a dude that just like has had enough. Now, could you tell me about Shatter?
Yeah. Shatter is kind of like one of those characters where, he didn't set out to do good. I mean, I think he probably set out to do bad, but in his past, something so traumatic happened to him that, it kind of, the reason why he's called Shatter is because he's a broken man. And I think a lot of us as Black men have gone through so many crazy things where we feel broken, whether it's exterior or interior. And I think something so bad happened to Shatter that he becomes a broken man, and out of this destruction, arises like the phoenix from ashes, like this, this villainous character who's hell bent on kind of balancing the scales, really, because he's fed up with, the corporations and the corporate tycoons and the billionaires and all of this bullshit agenda that a lot of times we're facing now. We're just starting to see now with a lot of stuff that's going on in our own personal society. So he's just kind of like, you know what? I'm going to take this stuff into my own hands. And he's not really thinking about anybody except himself in this case, but ends up kind of being championed a little bit by the people around in the city of Demetropolis.
Yeah, exactly. Because, the very definition of anti-hero is what hero who doesn't have the same moral compass as what you typically would think of an anti-hero, right? Mm-hmm. But in some ways his acts always seem noble. And so like TJ said, or hinted at, is that Shatter's most of his motivation is selfish. He's not out really to save the world. He's acting out on his own anger, right? Mm-hmm. Like, hey, this is my anger, this is my frustration, and this is what I'm going to do about it. I'm tired about just complaining and sitting down. So I'm actually going to do something about it. But he does it in a selfish way, not like he's a kind-hearted person,
Right.
but because people see his actions and they can connect to it because they feel that anger, the same
Right.
frustrations and anger that Shatter feels, they feel too. So, and they're gonna start to connect to him, and he's gonna have this influence on people that the government and even the rebel force, right? Because we have a rebel force called Destruct, and they're secretive and they're opposing the government too, but not in the same way that Shatter is doing it. Shatter is like, hey, we're gonna just destroy everything. Destruct is more like, hey, we're just gonna try to fix the system. They don't, Destruct is not trying to like break everything and into pieces or burn everything down, but Shatter is, the opposite. So even though they look like they have the same end goal, they the way they go about it is like it's two different things. And so he's gonna bump heads with the rebel force. He's gonna be bumping heads with the government. So he's gonna be bumping heads with everyone. And so it's gonna be kind of fun playing with a character like that, who at the same time kind of grows in power because people can relate to his anger and frustration.
So like District as a team are pretty much trying to fix the system and be on top of the food chain, whereas Shatter, pretty much as it's described, he's causing anarchy.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so yeah, exactly. Destruct is like, hey, we just want to fix the system, work within it. We're not trying to rebuild the world, and then Shatter is like, nah, everything's got to go, and so it's like even it's like somebody Shatters. I kind of picture him as somebody who sits in between the Sith and the Jedi's. You know what I mean?
The Gray Jedi.
Yeah, he doesn't agree with either of them, and he's like, yo, you both need to start over. Like,
Mandalorian with that dark saber.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a lot as far as reading the summary for the Kickstarter when I was reading the campaign, and what basically brought you to write this book. Mostly, I wanted to talk about the narratives in which it displays the depiction of minority victims being deemed as villains, being an inspiration for why you created the comic and why you wrote it in such a way.
Yeah, man. Me and Newton been friends for a couple years, and we've done a lot of conventions together. We've, kind of been even all over the country in some spots, and just had a lot of time to talk about life stuff, what I'm saying, and connect as brothers, what I'm saying, within this industry. And I think, right around the time of the stuff that was going on with George Floyd and that entire situation that just shocked America, it really, there was just a lot of anger and pain that was kind of brewing underneath the surface before all that. I mean, because we're talking about the Alton Sterlings, and what I'm saying, the the Tamir Rices, and all of these young people that have gotten unjustly treated by the police, and them losing their lives really for nothing, only because it's out of fear. So when the George Floyd thing happened, it was really like a brewing moment. I guess the top just brewed over. And it was like, man, we want to write a story where we are talking about some of these issues directly, not beating your head over it where it's preachy, but just like really tastefully talking about how ridiculous some of these things are, these differences are, but also, why we all have to kind of rise up and make a statement. And I think what's really interesting now, Fax, you work in a lot of different industries, and I'm sure you see it in yours, because me and Newton, we also have like corporate gigs, and we work in different spaces. But a lot of corporations are realizing that cancel culture is real. Like, if you are not really about diversifying your boardroom, your managers, the people, putting more women and people of color in positions that can make actual change within your business, like, nobody's giving you your money no more. So it's really one of them things where it's real out here. Like, if you are not, like, the people have the voice. And I think with VillainUS, we're showing that one man and a group of people can have that voice and be an instrument for change on the good side and on the bad side.
Yeah, and I like to add to it that what we wanted to do too was explore, the whole the power that Donald Trump has over this country, right? Because when you think about it, you're like, okay, he lost the election, yay, we can celebrate, but it's not really a celebration because that wasn't like, he lost by a landslide.
Yeah.
It was relatively very close, neck and neck, right? As far as I'm concerned, it shouldn't have been that even anywhere near as that close,
Right.
So that means that someone like Trump really and his ideology really has a firm grip on this country, right, in the minds and hearts of this country. And our thought was like, well, what if Trump, because it's not over, right? Trump is he's still got a power base. He's still able to influence the Republican Party,
Planning
and
on
so
running again.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like so it's not over, right? And there's a possibility he could come back, right? What if he comes back and he actually, wins, right? America becomes Trump America, right? Um, and the people who share our ideology now are going to be villainized, right? So
Right.
we wanted to see how that would look like 100 years from now, where Trump is praised as because over time, they can rewrite history and kind of re-image it. 100 years from now, if Trump wins the heart of the country, it's very possible that in the history books he could look like George Washington. This great man who set the country back on the right path, right? So we wanted to take that narrative and say, okay, how would that look like in the future? Against the backdrop of a character like Shatter, and explore a lot of the crazy things that could happen in the future like that. Like, I know TJ had once talked about it, talking about the privatization of the police force, right? Corporations controlling it. Now you even have more of a authoritative power because now corporations and people in power are actually controlling these things. So all of this, and it's just, and even the idea of, like, for example, in our world, right? Typically in sci-fi, when you have cyborgs, right? They're the cool characters. They got all this cool stuff and thing. But in our world, cyborgs are sort of like the lower class people because only poor people could only afford these, metallic cyborg pieces to replace themselves. But the rich people have like these nice organic clone, human looking like things if they need to replace their organs and stuff. So they're not size. So and it's a physical way to actually also distinguish you, right? Because it's easy to discriminate against Black people because it's easy to see that they're Black, right? Back in the days, sometimes when there was like discrimination amongst Italians, it wasn't always obvious that they were Italians. They could but to have a physical attribute that you could discriminate against was kind of an interesting twist too, because naturally if you have cyborg parts, you're gonna see they're gonna reveal themselves. You're gonna be able to see them. So things like that we just wanted to play with in this world, and trying to give you a little taste of what we're trying to build here.
Yeah. I kind of see that most of the things that are like triggering to Shatter are pretty much the enabling of psychological warfare through like if you want to talk about it through nowadays through those terms, social media, cable news, just pretty much indoctrinating people into a mindset that's going to be either you're going to be on this side or that side,
Yeah.
and pretty much I think, well, a person like Shatter just pretty much has seen it and kind of got fed up with all of it, even the bickering back and forth, whether anybody was thinking that they were good on either side. It's kind of like, okay, look, you're both wrong. And this is how I'm going to basically like rectify the situation. All of it has to burn.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Some men just want to watch the world burn. It's one of my favorite quotes from Batman. You know what I'm saying? Like, Shatter's that dude. He just wants to see the shit burn because I mean, I think his hope for humanity and is kind of really low based on what's happened to him over his life. And I think as we get deeper into like volume 2 and volume 3, we're going to see, you know, more of Shatter's origin story and how he became the man who he is and all that other stuff. But yeah, he's just a very complex character, man. I think a lot of us at some, you know, at times just want to like wipe the slate clean. Let's start this whole thing over because of all the corruption and craziness. And he's the guy that's going to do it in this story.
Yeah, and then the thing is, like, he's not really taking any prisoners in this either. You know, it's like,
Oh no.
it's like, yeah, I don't own jail cells. So I'm not taking you with me either. I don't own handcuffs. It's pretty much the end of you, and that's pretty much it. But
That's a writing credit right there, dude. We got to add that little quote in there.
Oh yeah.
That's fire.
appreciate it. So also in that mindset, you're looking at now truth, or I guess subsequent truth, is now seen as a rebellion on misinformation. So there's a lot of people that are fact checkers and everything like that. They see history and they know history. But necessarily now in the age of social media, you see that if there's truth out there, there's opinions able to just stack on top of it, shove it under the rug, and pretty much misinformation now takes over as a sort of pseudo truth to the viewing public. How is that seen in this book towards Shatter, and how does he grow tired of all this?
I wanted to add something real quick as a thought came to mind. I mean, I was a big history buff in college and high school. It was like one of my favorite subjects. And, you know, economics kind of came second, and understanding that this type of society you live in really kind of drives the type of people that come out of that society. And in one case, I was thinking about communist China. And for the longest time, you know, anything that wasn't government related was considered, you know, rebellious. So when you had not only the television, but their internet, but also just anything advertisement wise, even artwork was all meant to be, you know, properties of the state. Anything against that was propaganda. So people came out of society like, this is how we have to live. It was very like cookie cutter, like you put these people in a mold, kick them out. And I think understanding that, you know, extremism within any type of society really breeds different types of people, you know, really different types of ideologies. And I think for us, when thinking about what Demetropolis was as a whole, like, how can we make this something so extreme that it's kind of permeated to every part of society, even like something like the news or a social media post or a piece of artwork could be considered offensive or against the, you know, direction of the powers that be.
Now, the main antagonist in this book is if I'm remembering correctly, he's a politician.
No, well, that's a good question. Who is the main antagonist?
Yeah, it was like,
so yeah, the main antagonist really is General Strom and this Demetropolis detective Kalisa, right?
Kanisa Mystery.
Kanisa Mystery, who's supposed to go after Shatter. But the thing is, they won't really butt heads until a little bit later in the book, or even start things. So those are the main antagonists for Shatter. But at the same time, we're still what we did. I'm a fan of the slow burn, right? So when I tell a story, I'm not like you would never like you would rarely see in the first issue where I just like boom explain everything. You know, like this is the main character. You know, he you know when he was a baby he did this and then no, it's like you know I like you know taking the readers on a journey. So the way TJ and I approached it is that we're like slowly peeling you know the story, you know, but pacing it at a really good pace and making sure that because TJ and I really love action, we put as much action as where it makes sense. So we're pacing the story. You're gonna see who the antagonist is, but it's not always going to be obvious who his enemies are, you know.
Right.
You're good because, like I said, you know, Shatter doesn't really take sides. So when you're reading the book, you're like, wow, okay. It's not like he has a lot of friends or allies, and he has more enemies than anything. And you know, he's a very like not just an anti-hero, but he's anti-social too.
Mm.
So it's like we should have put that in there, TJ. We should have put like Shadow anti-hero, anti-social.
Quote right there.
This interview is bringing all kinds of new ideas out. So
Yeah.
So constantly, I guess you see that trope between Major Strom and Canessa Mystery. Like she's more like, I guess, local law enforcement.
Mhm.
And you have Major Strom, who is basically part of national government. He's militant.
Yeah.
And basically there's a power struggle between the both of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We played on that trope because that was kind of fun to do because that just the characters themselves. Because you know you've seen it in TV before, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're doing a police investigation. The FBI comes in. They're like, "Oh, we don't need your help. What are you guys doing here? This is our jurisdiction." And the FBI is like, "No, this is ours because federal mandate." Da, 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 da. You know, so so we played on that. And the interesting thing about what we're doing though is the characters themselves, right? The police detective, she's interesting because she's a cyborg too, right?
Mm.
And she's traveling that social sphere where cyborgs are discriminated against, right? So she you know, she kind of hides it, so her cybernetic pieces, and that's so obvious, right?
Right.
But
They
you
hit
can
under
tell,
a coat.
yeah. So she's it's like a being a black cop, right? You know, you're
Mhm.
a black cop, but you kind of have to balance and kind of I guess it depends on what kind of black cop you are. You have to balance, you know, the police department and your want to help people, right?
Mhm.
So she's a character like that, you know, kind of straddled in two worlds. The world where you know, where she's a cyborg, at the same time she's trying to live in, you know, I guess the upper class world. And then we have Major Strom, right? He's not just federal, he's basically a military guy. Like he's like, all right, you know, if we have to bring in tanks, so be it. If we have to bring in some airstrike, let's get it. We're gonna get this guy Shatter, you know, and he doesn't, you know, mind destroying the city. So um and on the flip side, you know, the detective, she's like, no, you know, this is my city, you know, I need to protect it. So it's that kind of dynamic, which makes it more interesting than your typical that typical approach to the trope, because it's a little bit more extreme, you
Gotcha.
know.
Now through what you see visually throughout the comic book, the way that you talked about cyborgs, and how they're depicted as being discriminated against, is it going to be, I guess, reference that um more so between cyborgs and the elite, and how they look, and how prejudice is pretty much visual in a sense.
Yeah,
So are we seeing that as more of like, um is it more prejudice, or is it sort of like classism?
I would say it's both,
Okay.
because you know,
great.
them being cyborgs is a result of classism. Because what we did is, the reason why a lot of people are cyborgs is because the city of Demetropolis, certain areas are polluted, you
Mm.
know, and because of that pollution, you know, they've developed cancer and just chronic illness that, you know, have them, you know, have decaying body parts, non-functioning organs and things like that. So they have to get replaced. So, you know, that's a result of classism. And then, you know, the other part where we're talking about just based on just like racism, you know, that's the flip side now, you know, not now, like we said, now that you have that physical attribute, you can be discriminated against based on that, you know. And um I really love the idea that TJ and I came up with, that cyborgs are discriminated, because you know, it's a physical attribute you can see, and at the same time we're talking about this discrimination, it goes across races, right? You can be a white cyborg, Asian cyborg, black cyborg, you know, what have you, right? So in that respect, it helps people kind of identify with the kind of prejudice and I guess what's the word for cyborg racism? Cyborgism? I don't know, but some kind of ism, but you know, some racism against cyborgs, I guess. So yeah, it kind of helps people kind of just people in general identify with that kind of racism or that discrimination, you know, because and you know they can see it happening to them also, not just one particular group of race of people.
Got you. Now, can we talk about like the artwork that I've seen, like from the panels and everything that you basically put up through the Kickstarter campaign? For one, you both are not slouches when it comes to the artwork that you put in both your books. Newton, this is pretty much the first one I've seen of yours and that's actually in color, because the way that Giancarlo basically like drew this out for this to be like strictly in black and white, like this is amazing. And the thing is, we're talking about like Cyberpunk and how this is drawn out when we're talking about Joystick Angels, who evidently the colorist for this book is the colorist for VillainUS.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, the art was shoot, man. So every story is kind of interesting. Every journey has like, you know, ups and downs and, you know, some U-turns and some left and right turns and some, you know, dead ends, all this stuff. And I think Newton and I ran into all that stuff basically looking for the right artist. I think the first couple times we were you know, searching for an artist, we, you know, contacted some people out of the country, contacted some local folks to see like, hey, you know, who can really bring this style to life? Because we were thinking, you know, big budget, you know, scale, like Cyberpunk, like we're talking Fifth Element, you know, we're talking shoot, Matrix if you can, you know what I'm saying? Just that level of like, even a little bit of Akira in there, like really trying to build this world that's like epic, you know what I'm saying? So first artist we had Ed Zion, Edgy Zion from France, really did a fantastic job of just starting, you know, the chapter off, you know what I'm saying? And then, you know, we ran into this other guy named Salo Manfarias. He's a guy out of Chile. And he was the person that, you know, kind of hit the bullseye on the first try, which was really incredible. We got really, really lucky because Salo, who we call Solomon Frisk, we call him Salo, he draws cyberpunk and futuristic artwork like you've never seen before. I mean, the structures, the buildings, the people, the costumes, like
that was the big thing that kind of stuck out for me, like the architecture and the landscapes of like how the backgrounds looked. It was like, this is like Blade Runner type.
That's right.
Type shit. I was like, man, I was like, this, like it, regardless of how Shatter looks, because Shatter looks amazing. Like I'm looking beyond him in most of the panels, and I'm like, the cityscape, how the cars look, how everybody looks. Major Strom looking like Simon Phoenix from Demolition Man. You know, like, like all this looks fire.
Because like if you notice any big cyberpunk story, the backgrounds and the visuals, even like you think about Star Wars, which is very cyberpunk as well, even though it's a space opera, the backgrounds and the environments are also a character. You know what I'm saying? So like the amount of detail that has to get put into those is just as important as, you know, a facial expression. So Salo picked up what we were trying to put down from the very, very start and just understood the assignment and then, you know, executed so flawlessly. And he was drawing so fast that it's like, oh man, issue 2's done. Issue 3's already starting. And it's like, Newton's like, man, we just got to put this whole thing out as a collected edition so people can get all of this fire ass artwork in one shot, you know?
Man. Now Newton, now what did you think of the art when you first saw it? Like when it first got into your head?
So yeah, so like TJ said, we had two artists. The first issue artist, Edgy, or Edgy, I think we call him. His artwork is was really, it kind of blew me away. And plus he was also the colors for that, I think, too, right? He did the artwork. I think he did the coloring and the artwork. So yeah, his artwork was nice. And then unfortunately he could only do one book for us. So after that we had to find another artist. And then so I knew Silo from before, and I was basically kind of like waiting on him. I was like, because I had another book I was working on called Galaxy Cadet, and I wanted him to be the artist for it. And when I had reached out to him, he said he was busy. There's another book, I forgot the name of it, but he's also an artist for another published indie book. I can't remember the name of it, but it was also a sci-fi book. So I was like, I said, yo, TJ, what do you think about this guy Silo? I was waiting for him to do Galaxy Cadets, but I think he'd be good for this story. And TJ saw his artwork. He's like, yeah, dope, yeah. Let's go with him. And like TJ said, you know, Silo has not disappointed. He's pretty much on point with everything. A lot of times, you know, TJ's like texting me, he's like, check out the next artwork of Silo. I'm like, most of the times it's like, oh yeah, this is great. You know, this is great. You know, once in a while.
What he says is cool. Dope.
Yeah.
Bet. And I'm just like, yo, this shit is fire. What the fuck? Yo, you see this shit? You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's
true. They're freaking out. Newton's just cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, when you guys were like researching them, were you more so looking for somebody that consistently just drew sci-fi or drew cyberpunk, or was it just like, I can look at anything that this person has put together and just tell he has the feel that he can get this job done?
To be honest, when it comes to artists, I really like to see how they attack a particular genre. Because I find that, you know, artists are just like people. You know, there are things that they like, there are things that they don't like, you know. And sometimes they may gravitate towards one particular like genre over the others. You know, one artist may not like to draw spaceships and all these complicated mechanical things that are futuristic, right? They may like more like of the fairy tale or fantasy world, right? Drawing drags and things. So usually I try to find an artist who I've seen work in that particular genre. Because to be honest, it's rare that you find, I've seen artists who can just draw in any genre, but for me, I find that usually an artist has their strength. So I was looking for an artist, or we were looking for an artist who could hit sci-fi.
But also, just to kind of quickly add, we're really looking for somebody who kind of just you know, understands the vision. I think, you know, historically speaking, what we both kind of brought to the table, you know, Newton with Crescent City Monsters, like Gian gets the assignment, he understands what the look is and he executes it. It's a kind of a synchronistic and beautiful working relationship. And, you know, me being the artist and writer on my own book, but then having another team doing, you know, completely just artwork from my script with Joystick Angels. That's how it was with Nats Ledesma out of the Philippines. It was literally just, you know, he just knows what we wanted before we wanted it. And it was easy to work with him. And the Solo's the same. Like he literally just took, you know, like see the ball was in the air, you know what I'm saying, from Ed, and then Solo just catches it, wide receivers that joint, and he's just running it in for the touchdown. So shout out to Solo, man. He's just like I said, he's taking it to another level out here.
Yeah, shout out to Salo. TJ is absolutely right. That was really important to us because TJ and I were really busy people. The last thing we need is like an artist who doesn't really get what we're talking about, and there has to be a lot of back and forth. You know, we've got a lot of projects, we're juggling a lot of things. So somebody like TJ said, somebody who just gets it like this, boom, that's super important. You know, that's like half the formula right there.
Now, when we're talking about like the continuation of this book, 80 pages, going through this volume, the storyline of Shatter, generally in these type of storylines, you know, the Messiah complex comes in for the character. Therefore, there's usually themselves meeting their demise by their own hand, or better
Oh,
yet,
you're getting into spoilers here, man. I know where you're going with
you know what I'm
this.
saying? Generally that does happen. So my question doesn't necessarily revolve around that. Is there any supporting characters within this book that you could see being a fan favorite, to where if Shatter were completely out of the picture, this person could take over?
I'll let
Yeah.
TJ answer that one. Yeah.
Well, first of all, what's really incredible about Villainous as a series, right? Um, so what's kind of interesting when you take a 10,000 foot view of like what I create with Ray Comics and what Newton creates with Dream Fury. Both of these comic series, let's say Okemus and Crescent City Monsters, they're not necessarily about one character. I mean, there's one main character, but there's
Yeah.
all these other interesting, supporting cast members and different aspects of the story that you got to get to know this person and this person and that person. And it really makes it much more of a beautiful and colorful tapestry of story and narrative. And we did the same thing with Villainous, where we spent quite a bit of time giving everybody, a whole story about Shatter and about, Malik F. Doom. And there's all, this crazy politician, you know what I'm saying? We also give you a story about, the cyborg prospects, these young kids that are like pulling off these odd jobs, you know what I'm saying, just around town, that are big fans of Shatter, you know what I'm saying? There's this whole unique storyline about Major Stroman, his relationship with Kenisa Mystery, and what they're doing with law enforcement. And then there's Destruct, this whole big rebellious organization. So each one of them has a very, very interesting story that you're going to see unfold kind of like piece by piece. So it's not like, okay, the Justice League, where you're going to see 5 of the same main characters in the room and there's all this witty banter. It's more like, okay, Shatter had his moment for these 5 pages. Now we're going to give the moment to this other group and this other group, and this other group. Then we're going to bring it back to Shatter. And it's this full cyclical thing. So you get this really unique story throughout, like, and it's never dull, like, ever.
Dope. Now, when we're talking about like the team aspect, Destruct, being this sort of elite fighting force going up against,
like underground rebels, actually.
really kind of like the Morlocks from like X-Men.
You could
Well,
say
not
that.
literally underground, but
Not literally, said not literally underground. They
But
don't
like
sewer.
hidden, yeah, they're hidden, yeah. Like they wouldn't be out in the open or in an office building. They kind of be wherever.
Okay,
yeah.
got you. But they don't necessarily work for a particular faction.
Well,
Not
they
at
are
all.
like a faction, like themselves, like they're a rebel force, you know, like you know
Mm.
how the Star Wars rebel force. They're basically like that, you know. They fight the Empire.
So now we talked about like basically how this revolves around the psyche around Shatter. For the viewer in the page, how is Shatter going to come across to the audience, and you have the ability to root for him?
Oh, it's gonna be tough because we the way we structured it is that you're not supposed to like this guy in the beginning. Like
That's
he's
what I was.
killing the first book, he's killing people. I mean, granted, these people deserve to be killed in the first issue, but he's getting drunk, I'm saying, he's partying, like there's like he just dude's wilding out. Like he's not like he's the type of dude, like, after a long day of hard work, I'm gonna go out and I might, score some drugs. Like, what I'm saying? Like, who knows what this guy is going to do? He's just like, he's so unhinged that there's nothing that is outside the scope of what this character is. So we're really pushing the envelope to see like just what we can do, because ultimately we want everybody to kind of hate him at first and then maybe hate him a little less later on.
Yeah, because like you take a character. I'm trying to think of another anti-hero that they have in comic books, but I would almost, I guess the closest is like Lobo, right?
Okay.
The guy who just like who just does raunchy things too. He's not like your typical superhero. Like for example, you take the Punisher, right? They're like, oh, Punisher don't kill, and he's like, no, I'm gonna kill whatever, right? But you can't imagine Punisher going to a bar a strip club, what I mean, after that,
Oh.
right? No, but my man Shatter, that's what he does. He's
I'm gonna hang out.
yeah, I'm hang out.
I just took
So
out an entire office building. I'm gonna have some drinks.
yeah, exactly.
In costume,
So
in his superhero gear, just chilling
yeah,
at the
you're just
bar,
chilling, like whatever, Yeah, I'm on the most wanted list, but get me a drink.
Mm. Now, when we're talking about the action in this book, are there moments in time where, like, within this first volume, that there's a lot that is built around this whole book? Like, there's just that much action built into the book, because I've seen it from the both of you within like the first couple pages of maybe like a couple of your books. There's a lot of like action scenes in there. So as far as like from the artist perspective, they had to know how to basically do fight choreography through their art in order to get this out.
Yeah, we were lucky. Both the artists were really good at fight scenes. Really cinematic, dynamic angles, and the panel layouts. They did a really good job. And we did. I think we did a really good job at pacing the action too. We have a lot of action, but not too much where it's like, all right, now, let's move on. So yeah, so it's got a lot of action. I think our action pages is at least like 4 pages for each action sequence, right?
Yeah,
At
it's
least.
extensive. I mean, issue 1, you get big budget action off the jump, like off the cuff. It's just that's what it is. And then issue 2, you kind of get more into deeper parts of the story, some of the other characters. And then issue 3, it ramps up crazy all over again. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you're gonna see in issue 3 is gonna be really wild. Like, I mean, me and Newton had a lot of fun writing that particular issue, because it's like, oh man, crazy, you know what I'm saying? Big, like, duel, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be wild. You're gonna love it.
Dope. Is it basically like Michael Bay in a comic book?
Yep, exactly.
Straight up. I need explosions. Mad explosions.
Yeah, there's an explosion scene where Shadow's just walking and there's an explosion behind him. That typical movie. And his hair is blowing in the wind, kind of thing.
Now I gotta judge both your brothers' confidence, because this Kickstarter is only 21 days long. Now, is there a reason for that? Like, y'all just knew?
Well, so it's actually
22 days, yeah.
Because the way the countdown on Kickstarter works, for some reason, as soon as you launch it, boom, it's only 21 days left. But yeah, it's the 22 full days. Because the comic is called VillainUS, right? V, right?
Mm-hmm.
2, right? So 222. We launched on 222 for 22 days.
Right,
yeah, that's all TJ's idea. And I thought that was such a dope idea. I was like, yo, yeah, we definitely gotta do that. So yeah, 22 days, and it launched on 22222. I'm not sure if that's on twos, but it sounds like it.
I didn't take TJ to be into numerology. What's going on, man?
Oh man, this dude's a palm reader too, man.
I'm about to wrap my head up with one of them turbans as soon as I leave this interview.
God damn.
Yeah,
so what are you saying? This whole thing's built around superstition?
I'd say it's, I like, what I'm saying, how I just recently kind of like started to learn more about astrology and like numerology and numbers, and just the power of how certain numbers line up with the universe. And when people talk about, let's say, your golden birthday, like, you know what I mean? Okay, I was born on the 22nd, or you turned 22 on January 22nd of the 22nd year, whatever, like all of those numbers actually have power. And I think a lot of times we, especially in our community, forget how powerful words and things can be. But words, actions, thoughts, decisions can move mountains within the lives of others and yourself. So we kind of wanted to do something interesting, something sleek, and to see how the stars would align if we had, because literally there's 2 people coming together, you know what I mean? 2 people, 2 creatives coming together on the 22nd. So it's all like,
stop, man.
it all lines up. So it's like, this just feels right, you know what I'm saying?
It was funny, like every minute when thinking of something that's related with two creators, and then the whole VillainUS
V.
right?
Yeah.
Two.
Damn, yo. Yeah, you see, you got me sold. I mean, I already bought into the Kickstarter, but now you really got me sold. See what I'm saying? So, what outside of this project, what else can we expect from both you brothers within 2022?
So I'm gonna open up my own movie studio, and no, just kidding.
Look, I was right here with you, man.
It's funny. The reason I say that is because a lot of times people are like, "Yo, you should make this into a movie." So, I thought I'd just throw that out there. Maybe in the universe, maybe 5-10 years from now, you guys can attend my movie studio opening. But yeah, so outside of VillainUS, working on Keisha, Demon Eater. Yeah, so that's my main focus right now. I'm trying to get that Kickstarter maybe launch maybe in April.
Okay.
Of course, yeah, and so with that book too, I'm going to have the two different versions, both the grayscale version that you typically see Gian work on, added with a splash of color, and then a full color version. So hopefully I can come up with two versions, two books, just boom, knock people dead with like both grayscale and color. Yeah.
TJ.
Yeah, man. Ooh, my head be. Oh, I said I was muted, but I'm not. Okay,
You
great.
good?
So a lot of stuff this year, man. I mean, first of all, we wanted to kind of start the year off right with VillainUS. We figured Black History Month was an epic time to kind of really address some of the issues that we've been feeling and trying to get off our chest with this particular narrative in this story. But so many other cool things, man. Joystick Angels is going to be done by next few months. So Joystick Angels issue 2 is going to be dropping pretty soon. I'm currently drawing Okemus issue 6. The script is already written, layouts are done, so that's going to probably be done by the end of the year. A long time coming, Okemus Dark History, which is basically a look at this dark, desolate, futuristic world of Okemus and where Kale as a young baby is born into this world, and we kind of see the history of where he comes from. So it's kind of like the prequel before you get to the final issue of Okemus. And that's actually an 86-page interior comic book, but it's actually going to be a 100-page graphic novel with the pinup gallery we have. And that's going to drop within the next couple of months. So there's that. And I'm hoping, crossing my fingers that the other book that I'm working on is going to be out. But so far, definitely Okemus Dark History, Joystick Angels issue 2. Yeah, and that's it, man.
Oh, now in the state with the state of comic books, how are you guys feeling about like the recent uptick in adaptations that are basically being brought onto either TV or film, whether they're independent comics who are basically now jumping into TV and film, or better yet, just like titles that you necessarily wouldn't even see being adapted? Is it too much too soon, or is it like more the merrier?
You mean indie create by adapted by
all of it.
Oh no, the more the merrier. I mean, I think indie creators are a good source for the movie studios, right? Especially if you don't have that Marvel or DC connection, and then you have an indie creator who's got a fan base large enough where there is that interest, or a story that is that incredible that you could put into a movie or TV series. So yeah, the more the merrier. I mean, shoot, if they just go strictly indie creators, I'm not mad at that.
I wouldn't be mad at it either. What do you think, TJ?
Yeah, I mean, how do I say it? I'm kind of, while I do like seeing more indie creators, I'm kind of like a mixed bag between both, because I want to see more like genuine representation in film, but I also want it to be done responsibly. I want it to be done to a point where, like, you're reaching out to creators that have like a large, catalog, because there's so many great stories to pull from, maybe instead of just maybe one book.
Yeah.
Because I just think you can build more with, you know, a volume. And I think a lot of people forget that, like, you know, Spider-Man or X-Men had like 40 years of content before they even did anything live action. So it's like, go with, you know, studios that really have a lot of, like, you know, a lot of great new projects coming, as well as stuff that's, you know, built currently. So I mean, you know, but I am excited to see what they're going to do, because I just think it's our time, and I think that we need to see more cool stories. But I want to challenge Hollywood to, like, pick the books that are not your typical superhero tropes. You know what I'm
True.
saying? Pick books that don't look like yesterday's superheroes, or another version of Superman, because it's like we've seen 5 different incarnations of Black Superman. Can we not do another movie or another show or another anything about that? How
Mm.
about we shift to do something horror related, like Crescent City Monsters? Like, to me, like, it's just more interesting because I just haven't seen it. So I just want to see something different.
Yeah, I think the same can be said, because like there was a period of time where I guess if we want to, like, not necessarily indie, but when a lot of Vertigo comics got adapted, History of Violence, Road to Perdition, V for Vendetta, The Crow, like those type of I guess off the grid type comic books were starting to get adapted into movies. And the thing is, it was like those weren't bad movies at all. You know what I'm saying? So necessarily, we don't want to get to the point where, yeah, we got a George R. R. Martin decision where I haven't completed my books. You're developing my story into film. You've bypassed my books, and yet creating your own ending. And now I have to catch up and change the whole dynamic for that story, even though we know season 8 of Game of Thrones does not exist.
Yeah,
All
I feel the
facts.
same way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I because I just finished watching the second season of Raising Dion, and you know, while I thought the start of the season was really good, I just the ending didn't hit for me, because it just felt kind of rushed. It didn't feel like it was really well thought out. But there's only one comic book that exists for Raising Dion, and while it's dope,
Yeah.
it's like, if we had more, maybe we could pull from different stories. We can make it a little bit more robust. But I think a lot of times you have these studios that are just like, okay, one season, we'll see how it does. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
One season done. Even some of these popular shows are getting axed like just like that. And they've got millions of fans. Like,
It's
it's
true.
crazy to me, man. Like, it's really kind of wild to watch the landscape evolve over time.
Yeah, I think that can be said for what Jupiter's Legacy. They came out with that one season, chopped it. But the thing is,
Done.
Mark Miller had like a bunch already like in the bag for Netflix. So it was like, oh yeah, I'm releasing Super Crooks like as an anime next year, and it came out, and people liked that.
Yeah, I think he's got like a multi deal with I'm not sure if it's Netflix or just in general, but
Mhm.
they license like his whole library of stuff, and he's like, I think he's got like first look deals, and that
Yeah,
dude is that dude is set in terms of movies and TVs.
and it,
You
it
know?
wasn't like he wasn't doing it anyway. What he had Kick Ass like that came out like I
Hmm.
think like 5, 6 years, maybe 7 years ago. Kick Ass
Yeah,
and Kick Ass too.
Yeah,
He had two variations of it.
the gentleman or whatever, that one
Yeah,
too. Yeah,
yeah.
that like he has a lot. You know what I'm saying? A lot of stuff.
Dope. Well, TJ Newton, it was a pleasure to have both of you on, man. This has been super dope, man. So, is anything you want to tell your audience about the campaign? How much? Well, we got 20 days left.
Yeah, 20
yeah,
days left. We want to say thank you to everyone who's already supported the campaign, the
You're
day
welcome.
ones, the day twos. Yeah. Yes, Fax is one of them, day one. You know, we're already about 70% away, to our goal. You know what I'm saying? We're raising $11,000 for 3 comic books and 1 collected edition. It's an absolutely incredible comic series. You know, usually going Kickstarter, you get 1 book. In this case, you're getting 3. So you're getting a full story. And it's really incredible. The art's incredible, the story. So we want to say thank you for just supporting us. Please continue to tell your friends, your family, share it, tag it, up your pledges, do whatever you want to do. Just keep the momentum going for the next 20 days so we can close out strong, get you guys your books as soon as possible.
Dope. Newton, last words.
yeah, same here. Just you can go to VillainUS.com, just to make it quick. That's VillainUS villainus.com. So it's spelled differently, VillainUS, right? .com. That'll take you straight to the Kickstarter page. We're close to being funded, so make sure you get your support in early. We've got some surprise stretch goals in store, so make sure you join the bandwagon. That way you can participate in the stretch goals, get some free stuff added to your tier. That's basically what the stretch goals are. Check us out at villainous.com. Support the project. You won't regret it. It's a short project, so it's not your typical 30 days. It's 22 days, but we only have 20 days left. So try to support as early as possible. And just a quick reminder, when you do Kickstarter, they don't take out the money immediately. It's always after the project. So even if it's not payday or paydays coming up in the next couple of days, you won't be charged, and you got plenty of time to stack them chips up for some great comics.
Dope. So you heard both these brothers here. Basically, go out there. The Kickstarter's live right now to basically get your hands on VillainUS, the graphic novel Cyberpunk Noir. Get your hands on Okemus. Get your hands on Joystick Angels. Get your hands on Crescent City Monsters. That's raycomics.com. That's also Dream Fury Comics. Dreamfurycomics.net?
Dreamfury.com. Dreamfurycomics.com.
Dreamfurycomics.com. And you can get your hands on these brothers' entire catalog. So from me, James Grandmaster Facts Boyce, TJ Sterling, Newton Lilavois, we are out.